Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to every month is National Adoption Month, our peer-to-peer group. I am Jill Marshall-May. I'm the Director of the National Resource Center for Diligent Recruitment at Adopt US Kids. And I'm joined here today, you'll see on the slide, by John Levesque, Deputy Director of Adopt US Kids, Melissa Otero, Marketing and Communications Director for Adopt US Kids, and Tracy Sturgeon, the Associate Director for the NRCDR at Adopt US Kids. Just want to let you know that we are going to have other members of the Adopt US Kids and NRC teams on the line today. Mary Boo from our Family Support Team, Alicia Groh, and Marie Young-Peter from the NRCDR. Before we get started, I just want to jump into a few housekeeping items. The meeting is going to be 60 minutes long, and the entire meeting will be interactive. We are going to record this meeting and archive it on the NRCDR website. So if any of you join us for any of our other peer-to-peer groups, this is going to be a public call, and it will be archived on our website. Your line will be open during the entire meeting. Please mute your line when you're not speaking to try to prevent the background noise. If you don't have a mute option on your phone, you can use *6 to mute and to unmute your line. We also want to let you know that we do have a chat function in the far left side of your screen, where if you're having technical issues or to communicate with any of us on the Adopt US Kids or NRCDR team, you're welcome to chat us questions. Your peers can't see what you're chatting, so we're really asking that you, on today's call, that we speak up and we talk through the phone, but we also will raise your questions that you submit through the chat feature as well. So I just want to welcome everybody to today's peer-to-peer group. We're going to have a conversational discussion about how to use the National Adoption Month strategies throughout the year. We're really going to focus on questions and topics that were raised by meeting registrants by your peers. And if you didn't submit any questions or topics ahead of time, please feel free to speak up today and ask your questions. The focus of this meeting has really expanded beyond adoption. Some of the questions were related to foster care, and that's perfectly fine. We realize that many people are adopting after they've started as foster parents. So we open the discussion, we welcome the discussion to expand into the foster care realm. We're hoping to have a peer-to-peer conversation, so please share your experiences. We all believe at the Adopt US Kids Project in sort of sharing and stealing other people's ideas to make things easier for you all. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Tracy Sturgeon, who's going to facilitate our discussion today. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to speak up. And we're really excited for today's discussion. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jill. So as Jill said, it's going to be a discussion. So we can start to get a sense of who's on the call. When you speak, please start off and share your name and your agency, your state, tribe, or territory, or county, so we can just have a sense of who we're talking to. So our first discussion topic is going to be post-permanency support. And we're going to start off with some questions that you see here on the screen that were submitted by Julie in Arizona. So Julie, do you want to share your question with the group to start us off?
Sure. I've been really wondering what other states are doing about post-adoption services for families, if they have support groups, or what exactly they have for those families once an adoption is completed. And then my second question is about reentry when kids are teenagers. We do see that some as well, and if there are any interventions that are done prior to the state getting involved or the county.
Great, thank you, Julie. So do we have any peer participants on the line that would like to share about what's happening in your jurisdiction to start us off?
Hi, this is Pam from Vermont, Pam Piper, and I'd be happy to talk about our post-permanency services here, which are pretty extensive if you'd like.
That would be great. Thanks, Pam.
So in Vermont, we've had a post-permanency project for many years, and it started out with about 7 or 8 workers. It's funded through the legislature, and the money comes through the Department for Children and Families, but they're contracts with outside agencies, and they have provided case management support and that kind of support to adoptive families. In recent years, with concern around the high level of needs of these kiddos and some of them coming back into custody, the department once again went back to the legislature about more money to provide these workers throughout the state. And they work collectively together. They do a lot of training. They work directly with the families. And as we get more specific about how to provide these services, we start outreach from the beginning. You know, people are aware that this is an optional choice for them to engage with services. We now offer it to our guardianship families as well. And there's a tiered model. I'm sure we'd be happy to send some information out. I don't work in that world right now, but it's a very successful and hopeful project. The other thing that our post-permanency workers are required to do is to try and provide a support group. And support groups are sometimes hard to get off the ground, but we have several of them throughout the state that the post-permanency workers oversee, and we partner with our kinship families and organizations and our adopted families. So those support groups are invaluable. So that's what we do in Vermont.
Thank you, Pam. Do we have other peer participants on the line that want to share or maybe offer support groups for families in your jurisdiction? Okay. I'm going to turn it over for a moment to Mary Boo, our family support specialist. If Mary, could you share a little bit about what you've learned about what's happening across the country in terms of post-permanency support?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tracy. I would say support groups are one of the most common services that we see most states providing, in some ways kind of a minimal level of service. A lot of organizations have, information and referral and then support groups. And a couple of examples, some are definitely more extensive. Tennessee, for example, with their adoption support and preservation program, has more than 30 support groups statewide. And again, that's part of a much larger program, which I'll talk a little bit about. The Iowa Foster and Adoptive Parent Association, as a state contract, they offer more than 50 support groups around the state. Alabama has more than 20, Minnesota has more than 20. So a lot of states have really made this peer support, including parent support groups, a kind of a core effort that they provide. And then to talk about the more extensive support, I mean, there are a number of different ways that people are doing it, but I'll talk a little bit about both Tennessee and Alabama are programs that have an array of services. So they'll have training, and they both do training for both the professionals in the field and for the caregivers. They have support groups. They have retreats. Then they offer therapeutic services. So some of the more, as you asked about supporting families to prevent children from entering, some of those therapeutic services are designed for that. And then there are other organizations, quite a few of them, that are offering more intensive sort of crisis services. The largest, or the highest bid program I know statewide is the Illinois Adoption and Guardianship Preservation Program, which has a budget of about $12 million and is their legislation actually requires that their family preservation services be offered to adoptive families specifically. And so they contract with agencies around the state and serve families at all levels. Again, they do support groups and respite and some of those things, but they also have very intensive services, case management for families where children are at risk of entering care. Another organization that does that high level of support for families at risk of coming into care is the Seneca Family of Agencies, the Adoption and Permanency Wraparound Program in California. And that's funded by the counties. A group of 12 counties come together there, and it includes peer support, the parent-to-parent support, but it also has case planning and management. And again, that's for families who are at risk of their children re-entering care, so they're dedicated particularly to that. And then I'll mention one other organization that is doing something very interesting right now, the Midwest Foster Care and Adoption Association. They also run a number of support groups. They serve in Missouri and in Kansas, and they have the Post-Adoption Resource Center in Missouri along with another organization. But they are doing, they have crisis case management, so 24 hours a day services available from family advocates, but they're also they have started an in-home residential treatment model. So children who might otherwise be placed in residential treatment, they're instead bringing those services into the family so that the children can remain in the family, but the family has the therapeutic and other supports they need. And that's a really interesting model. And they're the only ones that I know that are doing that specific support service. So I can say more about other programs if people have specific questions from us.
Okay. Julie, do you have any questions about what Mary or Pam have shared, or do other folks on the line have any questions or things that you want to share related to post-permanency support?
I have was the that in-home residential treatment model, is that something that we can get some more information on?
There's a tiny bit of information on it in on the next slide that you're going to see. The Support Matters Guide is something Adopt U.S. Kids published last spring, and it's mentioned in there. I know that Lori Ross, who runs Midwest Foster Care and Adoption Association, did a webinar for Advocates for Families First. And if you go to Advocates for Families First, or we can send the link, but if you go to advocatesforfamiliesfirst.org, then there's a section where there are webinars, and there's an archived webinar on that, and they call it Behavioral Intervention.
Okay.
In partnership with the state. I mean, they went to the state with this proposal and got the state to agree to fund it, and it's relatively new but quite interesting.
Very cool. Thank you.
This is Julie. I have a question. The crisis services and the case management services, are those provided through like mental health providers, or are those provided through the state?
Almost all of the programs that I know of they're nonprofit organizations that are funded by the state. So the state funds an adoption support program through either one or more private providers. And then, so for example, if I was talking about here, Alabama, those are contracts, so the state contracts with a private provider, and that private provider hires the mental health professionals.
Okay.
A few of the others that, they may fund the services but not have the providers themselves. But I'd say I've seen it more often when, the nonprofit agency has the mental health services and stuff.
Okay.
The state, and then again, they often partner together to create the program, but usually run by the nonprofit.
Okay.
Mary, we just had a quick question of which state offers the crisis management.
A bunch of them do. So I don't know every state. I know that Midwest Foster Care and Adoption Association has crisis case management as part of their support program. I know that Placer County, California Permanency Support Services has 24-hour service. I do not remember off the top of my head if Alabama and Tennessee have crisis services in their program, but I'm trying to look that up quickly. I'm not sure that they do. And then Illinois, the Adoption and Guardianship Preservation Program definitely has crisis providers.
Okay. And as Mary mentioned, the guide is available online. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on each of the resource slides, but just want you to know that there's resources available for each of the topics we're going to discuss, and we'll share the PowerPoint with you so you have those links. It looks like we have another question. Ellen, do you want to share your question with the group?
Sure. Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah,
That's okay.
so there's the 5-year project that's happening with the Quality Improvement Center for guardianship and adoption post-support. It sounds like it's just starting, but it sounds like there's about 7 states, one of them being Vermont, that is looking for, they're going to be trying to establish some replicable models of support and interventions, both to prevent the dissolutions of adoptions before they happen, as well as keeping things strong after adoption. So I'm just wondering if anybody knows about anything that's going to be coming out of that initiative anytime soon?
Ellen, this is Jill. So the sites were just selected not that long ago, and so they're just starting their initial work. As you know, it's a 5-year program, and so I wouldn't really suspect we'll start, it could be a couple more years before we start hearing what the evidence is. So I think we're probably going to have to give it a little bit of time, but I'm sure they'll be, disseminating information as they have it.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's helpful or not. We certainly will keep you informed as we hear things.
Okay. Thanks, Jill.
Yep.
Thanks, Jill. And I want to just mention the webinar that we had earlier this year, Support Matters Strategies for Implementing Family Support Services. Alabama did present about their work, and so that can be a great place to learn more about what they're doing. And that's available on our website. And then I want to just turn it over to John to share a little bit of information about resources and supports available on our website.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. And I'm John Levesque, and I'm the Deputy Project Director with Adopt US Kids. And I guess just what I wanted to add, I know Mary covered a lot, and it was great to hear from Pam in Vermont, and a number of states share their services. I do think post-adopt services are really important to have from the very get-go. I think when families come in through Adopt US Kids, one of the things we do is talk with them about the needs for supports and services from the very beginning. So those of us who've worked in adoption for a few decades kind of know that there's some normative crises that take place with families over time. And to have those kind of supports and services in place and available for families are really crucial, because I think one of adoptive parents' big fears is kind of being out there alone. So what we have on our website is a pretty comprehensive list of an array of post-adoption services in different states, including support groups and such. And if you just go on our front page and go under Family and go to the next tab down, you'll be able to easily get to that. And I think given what everyone else has said already, that probably is it for me for right now. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, John. So I'm going to move to the next question. Since we did have several questions, I want to make sure we get to them all, but we can always circle back if we have some more time at the end. So the next discussion topic is increasing community awareness and engagement. And we have a couple questions that were submitted about this topic. The questions on the screen were submitted by Siobhan in Missouri. And would you like to share your questions with the group?
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Siobhan, and I work in St. Louis City in Children's Division in the Adoption Unit. I had 3 questions. One of my questions was what has worked as far as recruitment and what has not worked when we're engaging the community, as well as what are the different avenues that people are using to get the information out or the advertisement out about needing adoptive homes. And my last question was, as is listed, how do you get the community involved in becoming adoptive parents?
Thanks so much. So we have a couple people ready to share on this, and then we'll also open it up. So Billy in Oregon was going to share a bit about their Wednesday's Child videos, and hopefully you all got my email ahead of time. Maybe you had a chance to watch the videos. Billy, are you on the line able to to talk about those a little bit?
Sure, yeah. Billy Cordero from Oregon, the Grace Consultant for Diligent Recruitment Grant and Foster Care Coordinator here in our administration building. Thanks for the opportunity to share a little bit about Wednesday's Child. I'm looking at the question that was just asked about effective avenues for advertisement. And one of the common themes that we continue to see here in Oregon is really being able to find a community partner that's a champion for our cause. They can sort of see that shared vision and investment that these kids that we're talking about really don't just belong to DHS, but they're our kids. And so one of the things we've been able to do in partnership with Coin TV in Portland is to have this Wednesday's Child program. It's not specific to our area. I believe that this may be done nationwide. Maybe others of you on the phone also have this in your area. But the key ingredient is that partnership with Jeff Gianola, and he is the one that's the advocate to continue to make sure that this happens. It's an expensive thing to have airtime from a local TV station, but Wednesday's Child is just a very professional partnership that puts together great videos, very quality videos of kiddos that we have waiting to be adopted. And a couple of the ones that I think we sent one link out for Crystal Ann, who she and another gal, Natalie, recently were on my mind because these were two gals that were teens and had experienced really over 20 placements. And these are the most challenging population of kids to find permanent homes for. In fact, these girls, they were both in institutions, and the teams that were built around them from the department really had kind of deemed them to be unadoptable, which was very sad. They had a wonderful, Wendy's wonderful kid worker that helped these girls work through some of their traumas to help them get ready to a place where they felt like they could say yes to a family. But the Wednesday's Child video, it was crucial. It helped these girls to share who they were with families that could actually connect with who they were, not with what their file said that they were. And families got a chance to, see these kids and found things that they could connect with. Both of these videos were crucial in helping find some out-of-state families for these girls who not only wanted them, but really have the skill and ability to help be with these girls and develop them throughout the course of their life journey. And Crystal Ann recently had finalized with a family in Waco, and it was on her 17th birthday. We had another link for Natalie that wasn't quite working through that website, but she had also finalized in the birth month of her 15th birthday in that month with another family as well. So just exciting to see these girls. We needed some people that were internally in our agency willing to say yes, let's not give up. And Jeff Gianola being that champion on the media end to say this means something to me, and we're willing to put some money, time, and energy to creating these videos that paint a picture of who these kids really are. And this is a partnership we've had now for quite a while. Oregon Adoption Exchange is a part of this that helps to coordinate. There's a lot of work that goes into it. And we've had a really great product. And these two are just some big-time successes that we're celebrating here for finding permanency for kids.
Thanks so much, Billy. Do we have questions from the group for Billy?
Hi, this is Pam again. Just a quick question. When you refer to Wednesday's Child, and you said that is not specific to Oregon, is there a foundation or something? Is there funding connected to that? Or when you talked about the professional nature of developing these videos, was that with the TV station that you were working with that actually produced those for you?
I'm not sure if there's a foundation where money is utilized. The partnership that we have with Wednesday's Child, I know we had in other areas of the state as well. But what sustained that, we didn't have any money to contribute from the state to this program. It really is all written off by the local media department. So we had one in Southern Oregon that wasn't able to be sustained. I don't know that they found the value necessarily in using their airtime and video time to continue to make that happen. But the one with Coin Television, they're really footing the bill for recording these and airing them, and then also putting them on their website. And so one of the ways that we've tried to continue to engage that television station and Jeff Gianola is really, we've invited him to like shoulder-to-shoulder conferences, recognized him as a champion. He's also been very encouraged by some of the follow-up when we have been able to find permanency, sharing those things with him. So we're very fortunate that we don't contribute money to this necessarily. I had been informed that there were other places around the nation that do run this Wednesday's Child, so more of a concept with a local media outlet needing to be willing to step up and say, I'm willing to put some time, energy, and money toward this concept.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And then we want to hear from, maybe if we have some time at the end, we can ask more questions to you. But I want to turn it over to Tyler from Northwest to also share about what they're doing there. So Tyler, if you want to introduce yourself and share with the group, that would be great.
Hi everybody, I'm Tyler Hellbach with Northwest Adoption Exchange here in Seattle, Washington, and I am working on our media localization grant that we have right now through Adopt US Kids, where we are working on pushing out some localized PSAs. I also coordinate our Wednesday's Child videos here up in Seattle. So I definitely want to second what Billy was saying, that it's a really, really great resource. We were really excited, really lucky. We had a Seattle Seahawks player reach out to us a couple weeks ago, and we just filmed a Wednesday's Child video with him and a bunch of kids this week, and it was a blast. To follow up on that just a little bit, I would say, we don't put a lot of financial resources into it. We put a little bit of money, but very little. But it is very labor intensive, and anytime you're working with a station, there's a lot of expectations that you're consistently able to deliver filmings, I guess. But it's a great strategy. As far as kind of our localization goes, and it's a unique kind of project because a lot of us do outreach and awareness building, especially around National Adoption Month, and our project is kind of year-round. And so this year, we actually didn't do as much in National Adoption Month because the coverage was already going to happen there. But what we found is that the relationships that we build during that time and the committees or coalitions really help with the work. Specifically, I wanted to talk about how kind of we've worked with other nonprofits in the area. One of the big challenges for building awareness and getting that coverage is developing spokes families and success stories. It's something that is really important, and we want to show the public about the amazing experience that a lot of families have had fostering or adopting, but it can be really time intensive. And when we first started this project, we decided we were going to try and develop tons of these spokes families. And pretty quickly we realized that was difficult to train and screen people. But there's a lot of private agencies in our area. A lot of them have development coordinators or do their own fundraising, and those are folks that have already cultivated their families to speak about foster care and adoption. And so we realized that by partnering with them and speaking with a local adoption agency that had somebody that spoke at their luncheon or whatever, we could create a win-win situation where we could take that family to a local media outlet, and they could speak about our agency. They could also speak about the agency they had worked with. They could also speak about the public agency in our area, and everybody kind of won, and it saved us a lot of time. So I would encourage people to try and partner with those agencies to try and find those success stories. There's also a really big benefit to building those kind of coalitions, and that's that when you do get that coverage or you are building that awareness and you're super happy because you have the amazing Wednesday's Child story or you have the amazing newspaper article or whatever it might be, those channels can really amplify that distribution, right? So because we participate in the Committee for National Adoption Month in our state, we have a good relationship with our state PIO and other people in that community. And so when we share that on Facebook, they're sharing it on Facebook. And in some ways that can be even more important than getting multiple stories. I'd rather get one story or have just the amazing Adopt US Kids PSAs and have 50 different outlets sharing that than having to take the time to go out there and get 50 different media pieces or 50 different stories. So get everybody on the same page. So really quickly, I just wanted to kind of mention that and how those coalitions have really helped us. The one other thing I would probably add is that in our experience in working with media and building awareness, it's really all about local stories and local numbers. So if we have a family from Eastern Washington that we want to highlight, media outlets in Western Washington probably aren't going to be as excited about that. But people really want local information and local numbers. We've had a really good success with another agency in our state that's doing some recruitment for foster parents right now and is sending out information through the schools and sending out letters to families in school districts that say a child there may be a child in your child's school right now that needs a foster home. And we've been getting a lot of calls to our agency from that effort. And so that's something I would probably encourage people to look at. Something like that. There's, and I can give people more information about that too, but really that local approach has been really effective for us.
Thanks, Tyler. It sounds like we might have a question. Do we have a question? Okay, Siobhan, do you have any follow-up questions for either Billy or Tyler, or does anyone?
Actually, with Billy and Tyler, what they're talking about, we do have what we call a place to call home here, which airs on a local channel, and it has. We've had great success with that. I thought that was good information that Tyler shared about the schools, so I'm going to check into that. Yeah, so that was good. So thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so I also just wanted to, as you all know, this is the third meeting in the peer-to-peer series on best practices for localizing the National Adoption Campaign. And the first two meetings that we had really relate well to this topic. And just in case you missed either of those, we have meeting one on strategies for local adoption campaigns, highlighting some of the successes and lessons learned from localization grantees. And we also have the second meeting on engaging and developing media spokespeople. And both of those are archived on the NRCDR website now too. So if you missed those, that's another place to get some information on this topic. The next topic that we have, probably the discussion kind of relates to what we were just talking about, I think, but this is about engaging community partners. And this question was actually from Oregon. I don't know if Matthew's on or Billy, if you want to kind of share what the question was about and also talk a little bit about Embrace Oregon as well.
Sure. Matthew wasn't able to be here. He's at another conference today. But he was trying to get some information from other partners around the nation about their engagement strategies of our community partners, kind of a similar theme as to what's going around. So his question really was, what do others have to share? And he also had encouraged me to chat a little bit about Embrace Oregon, which is a program through the Portland Leadership Foundation that has truly revitalized our foster care system in the Portland metro area. So highlighting a little bit about Embrace Oregon, I would encourage anyone here to go to embraceoregon.org after the call or whenever you have a chance to do that. And Embrace Oregon started as a model really for churches and faith-based organizations to partner with and support local Department of Human Service offices. And in partnership with our Grace Diligent Recruitment Grant, we're looking to expand Embrace Oregon's new program called Every Child, that's their campaign, to other areas that our Diligent Recruitment Grant is currently working in. I was reading through an article that was just posted today by Portland Leadership Foundation's CEO, Ben Sand, and his comment was, at the most basic level, expansion looks like encouraging community members to build a relationship with DHS. And he says that they just started loving the agency and invited the community to come alongside, and the community started to get involved. And it really began with a foster parent who has a passion to care for and love on kids, came to the agency and said, I know that you have a need. When kids are placed, they just kind of sit around the office, and we would like to put together some boxes that would have some items in it that your kids can color or draw. They'll have a snack or something that can fill their time while they're waiting to find a foster home. And it began with that, called welcome boxes. And the agency said, sure. We said, yes, we'd like to partner with you along those lines. And then it just began to explode from there. Thousands and thousands of welcome boxes were kind of an on-ramp for people to begin to get involved who weren't yet ready to say yes to foster care. And so after that approach, they really were taking a peek and saying, gosh, kids are still coming to the office, but we see that they're now sitting alone while caseworkers are doing some other things. And so they began and created a program called Office Moms and Dads. And so Office Moms and Dads is a wonderful program while a caseworker or DHS staff are off doing things for emergency placement opportunities. They have a text message chain that's sent out to a list of volunteers. And on average, a community member arrives within about 16 minutes of that text message to come and sit and accompany children who are waiting in the office. And so that's one of the many on-ramps that they've created for volunteers or for the community to come and get involved with DHS. And it's really an exposure to being a part of our system, seeing what our kids are going through, and then they have the opportunity to share and grow and get that message out to others about what the need is. I don't have time to share all of Embrace, but some of the other things that they have done, they have partnered with the community and faith organizations to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars to overhaul and remake DHS child welfare offices. Some of our visit rooms just look like they are professionally done, and really it's to enhance the experience of kids who are visiting with their families so that they're not looking like they're sitting in just doctor's office type settings. So there's DHS makeovers. We have community folks that come in and tell our child welfare staff thank you for what they do. We don't get that very often. These are really ways to begin developing relationships. One of their main goals is to help increase the number of foster families we have available. They have over hundreds of inquiries credited to their storytelling to the community. They also have over 100 foster families that have become certified. One of the most exciting things that I've seen is that their rate of families that they've recruited that attend training to becoming fully certified is like over 33%. So their nature of hospitality and engagement of families who were inquiring, they're walking alongside them and building that relationship helps to keep them engaged, and that rate is just, I think, pretty phenomenal for families that inquire to actually become certified. Oregon's current climate for foster care isn't really that good in the media. We've got our governor that is taking a look at our child welfare system based on some things that have happened recently. And one of the most important things that Embrace Oregon does is they intentionally create what they call a counter narrative. So they are routinely writing articles in local papers. They have a robust website, social media outlets where they're truly helping people to understand, please don't just pay attention or believe what you hear, but there's another story. There's another option here for you to consider. And it's our community's job to step forward and help child welfare, care for kids. So we had a champion that stepped forward and said, I have a passion, and DHS said, yes, let's walk with you and partner. And it wasn't just saying do what you do, but as an agency, we're going to do our part. You can't be a partner if you don't show up. So our department has really worked alongside them to help them do what they're doing in an expert way. It's just an amazing partnership.
Thank you so much. It sounds really exciting. And next I want to turn it over to hear from Donna in Rhode Island.
Hi, this is Donna Rivera from Adoption Rhode Island, and I'll keep this brief, but just the community partners that we have been able to establish over the years has just been invaluable. And it is just incredible the amount of awareness that they help raise throughout their own constituencies, if you will. I think that the board of directors that we have is key, because there are members of local businesses, local corporations that believe in our mission, and through each of those corporations will, do their part to help raise awareness about the needs for adoptive families and the need for support and the whole process. And they almost make it a competition among themselves, it seems, to see which of the board members' corporations will help to do more, which is a great opportunity for us. So through different, companies, businesses, corporations throughout Rhode Island, we've been able to obtain media, billboards. They'll hold information meetings in their corporate offices. They'll host our art gallery. They will include us on their website. They will help disperse social media. And the influx of responses that we're getting from all different parts of the state and all different demographics of the state due to the audiences of these different corporations and businesses. It's just incredible. Everywhere you go, if you reach out to somebody, it seems like so many people are touched by adoption, and you don't know until you introduce yourself and get out there in the community and say where you work, and then inevitably somebody's going to say, oh my gosh, so-and-so from my family is adopted, or how do I get involved? And the whole community partnership is just so incredible in Rhode Island, and I think that we have the benefit of being such a small state, so I think we have a little advantage there, but to try to engage as many local businesses or local corporations and your board members and try to help us spread the word and raise awareness and do what they can to help us. Not just in National Adoption Month, which we all, I think, experienced a great public awareness raising experience, but throughout the year, because businesses are willing to help, and all you have to do is reach out to them, and they will in turn reach out to their customers. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, Donna. I know that we're kind of tight on time and that we have probably a lot of questions, so I want to also invite people to email me if we have questions, or Melissa or any of us on the slide, and we'll connect you to your peers if there's some follow-up questions, because I do want to make sure we get to cover the questions people submitted. So next on this topic, we were going to hear from Dixon in Illinois. Dixon, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. Do you want to share a little bit about how you guys are engaging community partners?
Sure. Yeah, we are part of the localization grant as well. That is working with Adopt US Kids and with other states like Northwest Adoption Exchange in Rhode Island, and New Mexico, and some others that have just come on board. And so we've been using the localized PSAs for Illinois. This year we're, instead of doing statewide, kind of focusing on individual cities within Illinois. And in terms of working with community partners, Illinois is a overwhelmingly private agency state, so the vast majority of foster care cases are handled through private agencies. And as a statewide exchange, we have and have nurtured relationships with all of those private agencies throughout the state over the years. We provide information and referrals to families that are interested in fostering or adopting, and that information and those referrals are sometimes to DCFS, and in many cases to those private agencies, depending on where the families live. So in terms of community partnerships, we're doing a lot of outreach, and we're doing a lot of events with private agencies and also with media outlets in various communities, certainly in Chicago, but also throughout the state. One thing I'll mention is recently we do it's become a habit where every year the Baby Fold, which is a child welfare agency in Bloomington Normal, which is a mid-sized city in central Illinois, does a holiday event, Festival of Trees event in their community. And for the last couple of years, they have been interested in hosting our Heart Gallery. And so we've done that for the past few years, and it's grown to the point where this year they had the Heart Gallery set up at the entrance to the event. We were able to come down and do a presentation as part of a foster and adoptive family celebration that they were having. And we were able to present the public service announcements, which again this year are targeting specific cities. So we were able to present the PSAs that were specifically targeting Bloomington Normal. There was a special website that we had set up. And that's a relationship that had sort of grown over the years from, oh, it would be nice to have the Heart Gallery, to, now we're kind of more fully integrated into what it is that they're doing. So.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to kind of scroll through the resources here, but please check out the PowerPoint to get some resources on each of these topics. We have 2 more questions, so we'll try to get through those. So our question about effective recruitment was also from Siobhan in Missouri. Siobhan, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, about the things that may work for recruitment and may not.
Mm-hmm.
Just wanted some ideas about that.
And then we had a separate question submitted about funding sources. So I wanted to turn it over to Ellen and Ayana in New York to share a little bit about this topic.
Well, hello everybody. It's Ellen and Ayana from New York, and we'll just say a few words. I'll just say a few words, and then I think Ayana's going to share a couple of examples. One thing that we kind of have learned, we have been scanning best practices nationwide on this piece and put together a resource called Revitalizing Recruitment. And what we've learned is that, probably well known to everybody who's listening, is that really the shift is happening away from what has been known as general recruitment, so tabling, general kinds of flyers, and going more towards child-specific recruitment that we heard about with Wednesday's Child and Wendy's Wonderful Kids, and targeted recruitment, which is really one of the basis of developing those community partnerships. So Annie E. Casey recommended a few years back that people spend the majority of their efforts on targeted recruitment, and secondly on child-specific, and then thirdly on that more general recruitment. So Ayana, do you want to just share a couple of examples of what we've learned doesn't or does work for recruiting families?
Sure, absolutely. So I think, as Ellen mentioned, when you're talking about, targeted recruitment efforts, what we learned is that people are really looking to meet the needs of the children they have in care, and they're searching for the families that they need in order to meet those needs. And so targeted recruitment efforts allow you to focus on that particular community and really try to draw them in so that you can get the right people in the door hearing the message that they need to hear. And someone mentioned already on the call something about using the faith-based community, and that's a common practice, which is to reach out to faith-based communities and engage them in the process of recruiting for prospective foster parents. I think another way, one of the things that we've really learned about targeted recruitment efforts is that, your current foster parents are your best recruiters. And so the many ways that you can use them to recruit for you and on your behalf. And so, in some of those ways, we have seen that people use things like fosterware parties, where they encourage their foster parents to invite, like-minded people, their peers, people that they think may be interested in doing this type of work to their home, to hear information about what it means to foster, to hear from other current foster parents and from foster care youth to discuss what fostering really is about, and engaging their intimate, smaller community, a targeted resource that comes from the people that are currently current foster parents, and inviting their peers in to learn about fostering and engage them in that way. And I think another piece of this is, and Ellen mentioned this as well, it is always opportunities, I think, where we can encourage our current foster parents to share their experiences and pull their peers in are always going to be, are always advantageous for the recruitment process. And so in one jurisdiction that we work with, we learned that they were able to use a recognition event, an annual event that they do, to recognize their foster parents and to tell them how much they appreciate them. They actually coupled it with as a recruitment event. So they encouraged their current foster parents to invite somebody who may be interested in doing this type of, to be engaged in this type of process. And so it was almost a requirement for them to participate. And really, it was a lovely event, but it allowed, prospective foster parents to see the type of what it involves. They were able to ask, questions of staff and of current foster parents. So it really was a rich opportunity for everyone involved to really learn about the process and decide whether or not this is something they may be interested in engaging in. And so in those ways, we really think that those are opportunities to really use your foster parents as recruiters to target their personal circles and the people that they know to participate in this process. And the other thing that we learned too is that as it relates to really engaging the community, we're moving resources away from tabling at the health fair to really partnering, as many have mentioned on this call already, to partnering and co-sponsoring events with community organizations. In some of the volunteers that we've spoken with here in New York City, they shared that they, for example, had one had an uptick in the number of Muslim families that were children that were coming into care, and so they really needed to target that community, and so they partnered with a Muslim community organization to actually partner on events and things that were important to that community as an expert and not as a just as a presenter on foster care, but to develop trust and relationships in the community so that they were building it in a way so that the agency, they can see that this particular community organization trusts the agency, so therefore, there are opportunities here to support children that are coming into care that these families may be able to support. So, they were able to develop these relationships and target a community because this was a need. They saw a real uptick in their numbers where they really needed to, try to approach this in a sort of strategic way. And in doing that, they were able to use relationship building as opposed to just presentations and information sharing, but really building relationships with the community so that they can encourage and engage families in that community to provide the services that are needed to support the kids in care.
Ayana, thank you so much. I'm sorry to interrupt you. We only have a couple minutes left. So
no, that's quite all right.
And it's great information, so I hate to cut you off. We had some more information from Ayana and also some information from Kate in Allegheny County to talk about collecting and using data, and I'm thinking maybe we can send a follow-up email with some information to the group, and also people can reach out to me, and I can make some peer-to-peer connections for that as well, so you can get the information. I'm going to turn it over to John for some closing remarks, and thank you to everyone who shared. Are you there, John?
So sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Oh, great. Okay. What I'm going to do is really try to pull together what I've identified from my view of the world, like the 10 key parts of what I've heard over the last hour in 60 seconds or less. And I put out a disclaimer that I apologize if I leave anyone out. I think the first thing we heard was, the whole thing with parent support group, that's peer-to-peer, just like we're talking today, is peer-to-peer, and the importance of that. And that families really need services and supports from the very get-go, and to know that that's going to be around for them and their children and youth. The second, we heard about the importance of an array of post-adoption services. And I think, again, the bedrock of that is parent support groups, because we really have to go to our adopted parents to find out what they need for services, because that changes over time. The third thing we heard, the Wednesday's child, is we really need to make this real to people. And I don't think anything motivates people any more than having our children and youth be examples of children and youth needing families. And when you put that out there and you have the children and youth also tell their stories, it's just really powerful. And we had a chance to do that in DC earlier in November. 4, engage and involve community partners. That's definitely really key. I love the 5, so build a relationship with your DHS. I love that idea. I'll have to check in some more about that embrace. And I would also say, we have to build a relationship, as we had heard towards the end, with our foster and adopted parents and prospective ones. That's like just so important. 6-point counterpoint, that we need to keep the community informed, because some of the media really plays out some very negative stories, so we need to counter those with positive ones. 7, involve boards, corporations, churches. 8, we really need to move away from general to more child-specific and targeted recruitment. 9, current foster parents are some of our best recruiters. That's true, but they also have to feel successful, satisfied, and supported. So we have to be really careful that those are the things we ensure that our foster parents are. And the last thing was really, we can't focus on activities. We really need to focus on strategies and target our communities to ensure those are the families that we need for our children and youth who need out-of-home care or need adopted families. So thank you. Jill, I'm going to turn it to you.
Thanks, John. Just want to thank everybody for their participation today, and we want to encourage your continued participation. If there are states that you'd like to connect with, Pam, I saw your question. We please email Tracy, and we will connect you all. We're happy to be the facilitator of getting different states together on topics. So if there's anything we can do to encourage that or to help with that, we'd be happy to do that. I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to turn it over to Tracy for next steps. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks, everyone, for sharing and for asking your questions for the group. The PowerPoint and recording of the meeting is going to be available on the NRCD at our website. And I'll actually make sure you get an email with that link so you can find it all easily. We're going to be sending a survey about the peer-to-peer series to you, and we would really love your feedback to help us as we plan future events. And we encourage you to reach out to us. Our websites are listed here, and you have my email address, so please be in touch. And I know we didn't get to everything, but this isn't the end of the conversation, so we look forward to connecting you with one another and to hearing from you. So thank you again for participating and for sharing, and have a good rest of your day.
Hey, thank you, everyone.